Everybody. There should be some copies of the agenda if you don't have one. Minutes.
No minutes. My apologies to the board.
No road encroachments, I don't believe. School report. Kathy.
My annual report of what I've been doing, not just squirreling all of the time, for the year 2019. When I go through these and I'll talk about the numbers in order, I'll compare them to last year's figures. And so the county spelling bee, the year before you had 51, last year we had 52 participants, this year we have 54. Last year also, the reason we were down a little is that was when we had illness so bad, the influenza was going through the schools. And so, yeah, a lot of them had not come the day of the spelling bee. Transportation committee meeting, I chaired that. Last year there were 17, you had previously 18 school bus routes. So you see a reduction in that because Dutton couldn't find any bus drivers, and so they have like 3 isolated individual transportations. The number of miles, and that's why that's dropped to 1,200. Last year it was 1,400 miles of routes per day in Teton County. I send that, of course, in an online mapping format up to the county road department. Certification of school bus drivers has increased. There are now 43 of them, a lot of them substitutes. And that is from 39 in the previous year, 29 bus inspections compared to 28. And we still have relatively the same individual transportation contracts. There's a few more school districts. One of my little ones is going to a van instead of a bus this year. So they have a van inspection for that. 33 school board meetings, that's basically what I attend. There was probably a few less last year because I couldn't make it out to on some of the roads. This was the first year when we did our county transportation committee meeting that they had alternative winter routes, trying to get around and pick up as many as the kids as they could. Had 8 teachers in the rural schools. I now have 7. Susan Lunster retired and they did not replace her in Bynum. They just had the other teacher that has been there a number of years take over that supervising teacher place. Big Sky Special Needs Co-op, I still sit on the board for that. And we are ranked one of the highest, in fact, we are ranked one of the best special ed co-op for its efficiency in the state, and they cover all the way up to Cut Bank down to Augusta. And I'm still the acting director of Region 2, which has put in the ESSA plan, Every Student Succeeds Act, which replaced No Child Left Behind. And so they needed a director that can come in and provide professional development, and so I am still doing that. Along with my other duties. Small school administrators, we get together once a month and discuss the issues, or we have legislators come and talk to us. If we look down through the school budgets, they remain the same, setting those levies. 7 elementary, 3 high school, and 1 K-12 joint district, that's Dutton Brady. The annual report, that is mandated, that goes in the paper. I have number 13, less certified teachers teaching in Teton County, so they've combined some of the classes. That's only down about 6 from the number you see. And the professional development I brought in was the youth mental health first aid. We're going into more whole child. It's hard to teach a child if they don't come prepared for school, and if we don't take care of the adverse childhood experiences they have. So helping teachers deal with that. I'm looking at students when they come in And that seems to be working pretty well. We have a lot of the schools in the county on board with that. I still do the graduation ceremonies at the rural schools. If you look at number 18, the staff roster, Shoto still has the same amount of certified staff that they did. Fairfield also, and it looks like the only one that has increased is Dutton Brady, and they've gone from 21 to 24, and then of course Bynum has gone down to 2. And Greenfield's gone up to 9 because of their increase in enrollment. The staff handbook is done online and sent out to each of the teachers, help save on a little bit of cost for electronically. If we make any changes, then it's done on there, and I don't have to keep writing up on paper and giving it to them of what they never look at. Also, the student parent handbooks are online, and we change those every day, update those. Those reflect our policy books. Monthly clerk meetings, there are new things that are always coming of their reporting, and so they get together and discuss those. We get a little loud in here at times, but we try to keep it down. I go to conferences, County Superintendent's Association and other conferences throughout the year. IEP meetings, any student meetings there are, they need a designated administrator, and I am going to more of those every year. Policy, if you want to know the policies of the rural schools, those are online, and those are on your county website. And so anyone's able to access that if we have any updates and changes, which they're not all of the same, then you can get on the county website and see those. They still have Christmas programs, which I attend. School parent involvement meetings, those are mandated to us by the state, and so those are in our attendance center as well as in our little rural schools. Testing coordinator, they've gotten more secure in their site for testing. And during that time, then I'm the coordinator of that, which means I'm the only one that can get online and make those changes of anything that occurs that might be an infraction of the testing part of it. On the back side, there are a number of reports that we are obligated and mandated to send into the state. One's called the TEAMS report. Every school district in the county has to do that. The other one is school improvement plan, how we are going to show growth, which every student succeeds at requires us to do. And then the title programs, which are the federal funded grant programs that come down, making sure we meet all of that mandated requirements, and periodically we are monitored and have to show that for auditing purposes. The spring and fall student enrollment is what drives our A and B numbers, and so I get online and do that. Reporting requirements for our civil rights services, so I have to get all of the rural schools, the 3 rural schools I have in the county, and I have to input that information to the federal government. Usually it's every other year they use that information of driving and giving people access to the educational opportunities, but also the statistics that the federal government comes out with, which drives the financial part of that, or I should say the funding support of that, of our nation's public schools. I'm registering more homeschools. There was 22 last year, I have 29 this year. New ones that are coming in from out of state, and it seems like I probably have 3 or 4, and they aren't really comfortable with the educational program out of state, and so they just continue on through here with the homeschooling that they have here. That's probably the biggest reason I see that increase come in. If you look at my position as in the response team of Teton County response team, I am the PIO, and I assisted in 2 issues that happened over the past year. And that last thing is the school enrollment. When you look down at the school enrollment, all of my schools have increased enrollment. I can't say, I think it's probably a little bit of a decline in the high school and maybe in a few of the middle schools, but the big increase is in the elementary. So we still have quite a transient group that comes in and out of the county, which fluctuates in almost all of my schools. So they're relatively within 5 to 10 students in their enrollment compared to last year. I am seeing a small decline in my rural schools, even though the Hutterite colonies, which are attendance centers as you see down there, they seem to be increasing and getting more kids in there, which helps find them and enrich just a little bit. Questions?
I don't have any. Anybody else?
Just that we appreciate you volunteering for that PIO on the response team.
Yeah, that was a pretty year. Last year wasn't my favorite year. Anyway, so I can't give enough kudos to the response team and what a great job that they do, and the families that were affected had nothing but praise to say about the response team and the job that they did, and so kudos to that.
Ross?
Yeah, Kathy and Chairman Kathy, on the deal with shortage of bus drivers, is that due to rigorous CDL requirements or just lack of volunteers and time, or what are you seeing?
It breaks up the day, so they're required to be on and ready in the morning and after school. But the biggest thing I know with the bus drivers, they said they were constantly having to renew certifications in first aid and CPR, which you should do anyway. And it just seemed like it was quite as stringent that they weren't renewing. They just said, I'm not going to keep doing this. Even though Greenfield for the past years has offered hours of certification, which they need. They are required to go and increase in the hours that they, for their training of that. And Greenfield's really good about that. But the biggest thing I heard is this strict requirements of that, which to me, you're carrying probably the most priceless commodity you possibly can. So yeah, it is. And it's not fun sometimes.
Okay, well, thank you for your
Thank
report.
you very much. And if you ever have any questions, just stop in to see me if I'm there.
Okay,
Thanks, Kathy.
thanks again. Okay, EMPG funding, Deb or Steve?
So this is the emergency management performance grant that you guys sign off on every year that supplies, or that's how our wages are paid for Steve and I for the salaries for DES, and then any projects that we have or planning. So there's a copy of a draft of the work plan and a draft of the budget. Then these are the assurances that you need to sign, and then the funding commitment letter, which is based off of the budget. It's a 50-50 match with the state. Certain requirements. This is where we get our funding for the water gauges to continue having the monitoring of those water gauges, salaries, all of our plans for the emergency operation plan, supplies for the emergency operations center. They've got a new one this year that is a distribution plan that we don't have that we'll be working on. Also, our pre-disaster mitigation plan, we're still waiting for the state to approve that. So, but those are the ones that are annual time certification forms. you can look at, and the budget or the work plan is still in pretty much a draft form, but you could kind of see what it does entail, so.
Okay. You've got highlighted SHPO.
Yeah, I didn't know what our status was for the county. That was just one of the things I noticed on there that I figured I could ask you guys on. Our gravel pits, SHPO certified.
We're in process.
Okay, so we can add that to our
Yeah.
work plan, that it's in process, and then they'll just probably want a copy of those once we
If
get
they're
it.
not certified, then we don't get
Right,
FEMA funding.
correct.
So they have the
Okay,
stick.
that was the only thing I kind of looked on, but you could look through that and see if there's anything else in there that you think we can add or change.
And then there's 3 copies. I'm
Yep.
assuming there's one for each of
There's
us.
one for each of you guys to look at. I'm making this easy.
Okay.
So the budget went up a little bit from last year, our request, but we were not allotted the amount that we requested last year, so I'm kind of anticipating, figuring if that's gonna happen again.
All righty. Thank you. So we have to approve that, I'm assuming.
Yes.
Make a motion to approve the EMPG paperwork and funding.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded to approve the EMPG funding. Any further discussion? None appearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thanks again. Budget amendment. It says / hearing, so I gotta open the hearing. And this is a budget amendment for Missile Road in the amount of $101,502. And do we have to have it 2 weeks? Or can we just close the hearing if there's no comment?
How much was the total again, Jim?
101,502.
101,502.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And it's not an increase in the budget, well, it's from 2019 fiscal year. There was a leased backhoe loader
Yep, case backhoe.
that I missed, and so it's just for the internal control. Because it's a lease, it's called a capital lease, so we have to show that capital lease on the books.
Okay, and this resolution is numbered 2020-08. Any other comment? If not, I'll close the hearing and entertain a motion.
I would move to pass the resolution.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded to pass this budget amendment. Is there any further discussion? Resolution 2020-08. None appearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Airport task order. Do you know anything about this?
I do. Actually, they accepted Dow as their support. They had them previous years and they continued to stay with Dow.
The airport
Yes.
accepted it, okay.
And this is it's a joint deal with the city and the county. And mainly is presented to be signed by the city and the county.
Okay, and this looks like the city's already signed it. And the amount is $48,449.12, but and up on the top it says snow removal equipment acquisition project.
That's correct. They sold their old truck on surplus because it didn't function, and then got a grant or proposed a grant through here that was funded for them.
So is this task order for?
Snow removal equipment.
This is a task order authorizing Dowell Engineering, who's the consulting engineer, to put together the grant funding materials to apply to the FAA for grant funding to purchase snow removal equipment for the Shoto Airport.
Correct.
It would also involve applying to the Montana Department of Transportation for aeronautical funds to provide 10% match for the 90% FAA funding. And the $48,400 and some dollars and odd cents is the amount they will pay the engineer to drop all of those documents.
And at the end of the process, they will end up with some snow removal equipment.
They are looking to purchase a modified backhoe that has a bucket and a blade fitted for it.
Bi-directional tractor is what they're looking for.
Okay.
The Shoto City Council's motion was to approve this if it was actually necessary, because the council felt that the airport board is an independent board that they appoint a representative to, and they will have no ownership or stake in this equipment, and they didn't understand why they were being asked to sign this document when they've never signed any other document.
When we just went through that, when we redrew the agreement with the airport, that they were going to be autonomous.
Yeah, so I don't know if you want to follow suit, but the city approved it, but it was, okay, we're approving this, but only if it's actually required for us to approve it, because we really don't think it is.
I think I would make the same motion. I would move to approve it if needed, if the authority is needed from the county.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the airport task order in the event that it is required. Is there any further discussion? None appearing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. The next item is courthouse entrance and windows. I think that we're to the point that we need to do something, particularly on the north entrance that leaks a lot of cold air. We get a lot of complaints in the winter when the north wind's blowing that it's pretty cold downstairs.
Something about the snowdrift in the hallway.
Yeah. And I don't remember whether I was opening or closing the window by my desk. Next thing I know, I was holding the whole window pane and trying to keep from falling out the hole. And those were replaced in courthouse renovation. And that was at when, Paula?
2000.
So they're 20 years old, and we got several offices where they won't close so we can latch them. And we're looking to start the process to do some replacement on them. And it'll probably be dependent on the cost, how many floors we do, whether we do a floor at a time or do the whole building. And we probably have some historical requirements that have to be met because this is on the National Register. So we just wanted the people to know that we're going to start that process. We'll have to draw up some specs and what we want to do there. Do you two gentlemen have anything to
Yeah,
add?
basically we want to do an RFP, and we did think with the historical significance of the building, the if the public wants to weigh in and comment, they're certainly welcome to. But I think it's definitely time that we go through and redo that north entrance as well.
Okay, thank you for that. So we'll just proceed down those lines. Commissioner reports. I might just report that Dick and I attended the Montana Association of Counties Convention last week in Great Falls. Tuesday was DES Day. Deb and Steve were there, and it was a full day of DES stuff. And
Say it with a little more enthusiasm.
And then I asked Alan the other day, the road department's been graveling. And I asked him the other day how many miles we've graveled so far. He said approximately 9. And the crew is actively graveling. And as we've had before, we've got some surplus road department equipment on public surplus, and that's coming along. Any other commissioner reports?
Nope.
Public comment. Okay, our next meeting is scheduled for March 5th. And again, I'd like to thank everybody for coming. And we're adjourned.
Is there anything that